back. We're going to be talking today about what graphic organizers are and how you can use them in your classroom, specifically during reading. So a lot of you guys probably already know about graphic organizers, but in case there are a couple first-year teachers or in-service teachers who haven't gotten the experience of using them, a graphic organizer is just a physical thing that a student can use that can help kind of get all of their thoughts and writing on a piece of paper. And there's different ways that they can do it. They can make thinking maps, story maps, concept diagrams, but for the most part, they're typically diagrams or maps or charts or like some sort of a web. And it's just a place for the students to kind of outline their ideas, kind of like taking notes. It just gives them a place to have some guided, structured thought processes. And so here's an example for ask and answer questions, which is RL. I think this one's RL 1.1, but it's the first standard in all of RL grade levels. So it gives the students an opportunity to visually see things in a way that might be hard for them to see in their minds. So it's kind of like you're taking everything that's going on in their brains that they're collecting from the story that they're reading, and they're able to put it in an organized flow chart or a map or a bubble map or some sort of item that is going to help the students visually see what they're learning in the story. They're not only used for reading, they're used for all sorts of subjects, but specifically today we're going to be talking about using them during reading. So like I was saying, the purpose of graphic organizers are to give the students a visual aid, and it can guide students to something that you want them to do. So if you're wanting them to use a graphic organizer for main topic, you will give them some sort of visual aid for main topic, and that will help guide the students to be very intentional about when they read their text, they are looking for main topic and 3 key details, and they can see those very obvious pieces on their graphic organizer because they see these are 4 blobs or blocks or circles or bubbles, whatever you want to call whatever is on your graphic organizer. They know that those are 4 things that they have to intentionally find from the story. Another purpose for a graphic organizer is to really focus them on standards-based learning. So if you, like I was just talking about with main idea, if you're maybe doing, let's see, point of view, you're giving them a piece of paper or a digital activity that is specifically setting them out to outline and learn more about a standards-based lesson that you're teaching. So it gives them a purpose, and it gives them an intention for when they're reading their either independent work or partner work or whole group, and we'll talk about that as well. So like I was saying, I keep getting ahead of myself. It is great for standards-based teaching because you can kind of back up and be very intentional about your specific standard that the students are focusing on for that week. So when the students, you can either do a whole group or independently. After you model reading and model finding that skill within your book, you're going to let the students maybe try it on their own, where they have a standards-based graphic organizer, and they're going to be practicing that skill within their own book or their own passage. Some people using videos to help with a standards or a standards-based lesson instead of text if they're working at home, if the students are digitally learning. So one example, and this is this isn't really a map or like a bubble chart or a flow chart or anything. The graphic organizer that you see here is actually just question and answer opportunity for the students, and it can be used with any nonfiction text. And this is an opportunity to give them a piece of paper or a digital piece of paper They're going to read a book, and as they're reading that book, they're going to be looking for those standards-based skills throughout. And this graphic organizer is going to help them set an intention for what they're looking for, and it's going to keep reminding them, have you seen, so in the picture, it's all about images in a text. So they're going to be looking for information that they can learn from images outside of the text. So maybe they're picking things up from pictures that aren't specifically stated in the text. So that's just an example of one way to very intentionally set a standards-based activity for the students. So other ideas for graphic organizers, like I was saying, you can use them during read-alouds. I would suggest always modeling how to use a graphic organizer before sending it off to students. So if you're going to use, for example, the images in a text graphic organizer that I just showed, I would suggest modeling with that exact graphic organizer with one book, and then letting the kids do their own book with the same one. So they know what questions are being asked, what responsibilities are being expected of them for that exact graphic organizer. So you can reuse graphic organizers over and over with different text. And that's actually one of the beautiful things about graphic organizers, is typically they are able to be used with any text, nonfiction or fiction. Typically the ones that are, if they're standards-based, they're made for RL standards. And if they're standards-based, they're also made for nonfiction too. Another idea is to use them for partner games and reading, independent reading time. So as long as you model and show the students how to do it first, putting those into maybe center time or independent reading time, that will help keep kids intentional and purposeful when they are doing that activity. And another idea is also to send home for reading with parents. So if you're wanting to do any homework, sending home these graphic organizers is great for parents, because it's typically something that's quick enough that the parents can read and do the activity with the students, especially if they are younger students as well. So when you're using them in class, it can be at one of their stations or during a read aloud. And then if you're going to do it during independent reading time, you make sure you do that modeling. So here's one of the examples I wanted to show you guys. This is a main idea versus main topic graphic organizer. So it's a big like flow chart. And first grade and second grade, you're teaching students main topic. So they're just having to tell you what topic the story is told. And then when you bump into third grade and up, you have to do main idea. So once you hit that main idea, it is important that the students are able to differentiate between main topic and main idea. And this is just an activity for them to be able to pop back and forth between the two. And it gives the students an opportunity to find text, find what the main topic is, the main idea is, and to be able to really visually see the difference between the two. So like I was saying earlier, it is a visual aid to help those students see what's going on inside of their brain, inside of that story or that text. Now, I wanted to add some pieces for 2020, just in case. If you're having to do any sort of distance learning, you will have to also probably do some reading activities. So what I suggest is finding digital graphic organizers. And when you're using these graphic organizers, the students are either using them on their iPads or their computers or their laptops, and you can have them use them with an ebook. You can have them use them with a passage. If you have an audiobook that you can use, I think there are free audiobooks available through Libby or Overdrive. And then, or you can send home books with your students. Just depends on what you're able to do with distance learning. If you guys have to take a week or two off of teaching to do e-learning or distance learning, whatever your district calls it, if the kids are at home learning, you might be able to send real books home with them. I don't know. So your options are ebooks, audiobooks. You can send home real books. They can watch a Brain Pop Junior video and taking notes on that as comprehension. That might be a little bit more difficult because these are all kind of standards-based activities. but maybe if you could find a read aloud of a text, or you could do a Zoom read aloud, and let them use those. So here's a picture of one of my, I think this is a first or second grade activity where the students kind of can use an ebook or a passage or a real book, and they're going to read their passage at home, and then they're going to fill out this guided activity to figure out the point of view. Now, what I would suggest on these is to share one page at a time, or you can just give them, I think the younger students need one page at a time. I know that's a little bit harder than sharing it all at once, but if you get one of these sets, there's a way that if you click on the slide you want and then push file, that you can save and make a copy of just the slides you have selected. Because if you give the students too much at once, it can kind of overwhelm them. I know third and fourth and fifth grade students, they can probably handle being told, okay, do page 2 on Monday, page 3 on Tuesday, and so on. But it can kind of get overwhelming for students if they see all of it at once. So you can share a single page at one time during in your Google Classroom, and that will help. Now, one suggestion I had last week that I'm going to bring back up is to also use digital graphic organizers when you're in class as well. So if you're at home, if you're at school at any point in 2020 and you're wanting to give the students kind of a seamless transition back and forth between learning at home and learning at school, you can use these that you've been using virtually and use them in your classroom as well. So when the students are seeing their same activities being used at home and being used at school, they won't have too much of a jarring switch back and forth from home to school. So it will be a little bit easier for them, and it will show them that yes, what they're doing at home is as equally important as what they're doing at school. So maybe fit a graphic organizer into one of their group activities and have them do that on an iPad or on a laptop. Instead of printing out a piece of paper, you can have them do it digitally right through Google Classroom. And that's just a way to kind of make this tough time on children a little bit easier, because you're doing it at school and at home. They're seeing the same activities at both home and school, and that I think will really help them switch back and forth a little bit easier. So that was all my lessons for graphic organizers. Have a great weekend and be safe.